Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're doing what I always love to do on this podcast, which
They're
is,
the best.
get to interview the developers, the masterminds behind the games that we love. And today's kind of big. This is the first time, and we've been seeking, so we've been excited for this, that we get to interview some female developers
Yep,
on the podcast.
been about a year, and we've tried forums and posting in social media, and we have yet to come across that combination. So
So
this is like a really big honor, really.
yeah, so besides making a great game, this is a first for the podcast as well. So this is real exciting. So today we're joined with Robin and Cordelia of 3lb Games. They have a great game in early access on App Lab known as Vault of Stars, but I don't want to do the game any disjustice. So
No,
do you
it's
guys
more
mind?
than a game. So
Yeah,
this will
that
be
that
interesting.
experience. So do you mind to introduce yourself to our podcast listeners and tell us a little bit more about yourself and what your game is?
Hi, I'm Robin Moulder, CEO and audio director for 3lb Games and for the game Vault of Stars. I have with me Cordelia Wolf. She is our creative director and definitely a mastermind of this game. This game is about death. It is about light. It is about energy. It is about a lot of things. The gist of the game is that there are 12 guardians who are protecting the world tree in this epic struggle against the void, and it's this encroaching darkness that's constantly trying to seep into the world tree and just ruin everything, chaos and all of that. And what happens is, and I don't want to give any spoilers, of course, um, but there's an epic battle, and you get to watch this unfold during the cinematic. And this is where you come in. You're created as this last bit of hope from these guardians. So you're created from their energy, and you are a being of starlight. So this is how you start your journey: is that you're flying through the stars, and you are a star trying to collect energy, trying to get bigger, trying to figure out how you're going to solve the problem of keeping back the void. And we've built this entire adventure to be around, yes, it's a game, but it's also choice. It's also sort of a realization of your place in this world and how it is you're going to evolve into this. Are you going to become a guardian at the end, or are you the bad guy, or are you the good guy? You don't really know. And maybe there's a choice about that. And maybe you can make decisions during this game that may affect the outcome. I mean, of course they can, or I wouldn't be telling you this. Cordelia, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so it's kind of there's a lot going on in it. It's we want to make a lot of about very much about player choice and player direction as well. There's a lot like the normal like, do you want to do the good or bad thing? What that is might not always be super clear, but there's also about like how you play the game, and part of some of the choices actually tie into what sort of game you want to play. VR is kind of an interesting medium because it's so physical that certain aspects of play um it can be difficult for some people. I personally, I'm one of those people that gets VR sick very easily. I was actually our guinea pig for all of our movement system design testing because I will get sick on anything that moves, and apparently that includes things that don't move like VR. So we want to make it a game that you can play if you just want a chill experience and you want to enjoy the scenery and things like that. There's kind of the more puzzle aligned path where you can go and you can solve the puzzles and do that kind of thing. But then you don't see it a lot in the tutorial yet, which is the part that's out there. But in our next area, are going to see more of this. There's also a combat path you can take if you want to really have more of an action, like go shoot them up, kill a bunch of things, or restore them, or whatever kind of thing you do. But it's a lot more action oriented. You can do both also, but those also tie into the long running story choices as well. So we're hoping it kind of like the way you want to play, you get to play, but it also has that kind of ongoing outcome in the story.
Okay. I you mentioned flying, and I'm just going to put it out there that the flying experience in this game was absolutely. It felt for I think I we were talking. I was like, for a second it felt weird, and then it felt natural. Like it took no effort, almost like you're thinking it and it's happening more than you even realize you're making it happen via your control. But yeah, hats off to the flying. You guys, you killed it.
Yeah,
Absolutely killed it.
that's a very unique travel method in VR. Usually, you see either teleportation, smooth travel. This, the way it goes, it's for anybody who's never played this experience. You point your controllers in the direction you want to fly, and because of that,
And it happens.
it like Stratus
It
said,
happens.
they explain it to you and you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna like that. I feel like I'm gonna have to think about that a lot to move, but at no point do you have to think about it. It comes very natural.
No, it becomes like a
second nature.
Second nature.
Very easily. And I will say, you guys alluded to it. Something that I love about this game, right away you throw it in your face, is the moral decisions that are going to take place. Without giving spoilers, but it's very clear to you that there's going to be some.
I've been behaving pretty well.
Oh yeah,
I go out of my way to behave well.
When the first one comes in front of you, it's like, do you want to destroy or rebuild? It's like, I kind of feel like being a good boy here. I don't feel like going around and destroying everything. Usually what I do with games is the first playthrough, I'm goody two shoes. And then the second playthrough, I'm you're evil Sith Lord, just monster.
No, and people should
rampage.
know this is definitely more than a game. I mean, right from the get-go, it like there's a lot of deep-rooted things going on here, and it's I hate saying like, oh, this is just a game. This is more of like an overall, I'd say, an experience with what's coming out to be a really good story.
Yeah, it's going to make you think morally, philosophically. It's
very trippy.
Absolutely. So what was the inspiration for this? Like, how do you wake up one day and you're like,
this isn't your normal, like, I'm going to do a
I like flying games, or I like shooters, or I'm going to go make a racing
create an
game.
entire lore.
Yeah. How do you wake up and you go, I got this puzzle combat game about life, death,
flight
moral
mechanics.
Reconstruction? How do you get to that point?
I think it's a good one for Cordelia. She tells this part really well.
It was definitely an ongoing process for it. There's a lot of stuff that kind of has like individual meaning to all of the creators of the game, but also, I mean, originally our previous game, Space Dragon, was also a flight game. We're really fond of flight in VR. That one was a hand-directed movement kind of flight, this one being what we call the rubber band system, and you like kind of pull yourself in the direction. So we wanted the very, very first iteration was actually sort of a test bed for that sort of pull flight system, and we just kind of wanted to play around with it. And I love nature and fantasy and magic and all that kind of like mythology and things like that, so I wanted to build a world. I wanted to put trees in it. Our programmer always yells at me for trees because like the rendering, leaf rendering is.
You should have seen on the early versions of this when it was on PC. Oh, everything's glowing and waving. It was atmospheric fog. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, it was amazing.
Yeah. And, I lost my mind on it.
Please, headset manufacturers, if there's anybody watching this and you think you can kick the ass of the Oculus Quest 2 for performance, please send us this headset because we'd love to bring these features back. Let's go.
We're gonna, as we go, we're gonna be trying to like really push the visuals on everything. So I wanted to make it pretty and I wanted to make it fun to fly around, and trees are very vertical as well. So it got into that, and then we started kind of thinking, well, like maybe it'll go in a nature direction with it, and then we got more and more into, well, you're kind of this spirit of light. We wanted to have you kind of be like a wisp, spirit of light kind of creature, and it sort of just kind of kept developing from there about, well, what about like if you're like a star like pulling some astral kind of thoughts to it with the Guardians. They were originally kind of like a zodiac sort of concept, but they developed into being these kind of demigods. And then it pulled in some of like, it is kind of the afterlife area. It's the vault itself is a sort of afterlife, and the souls filtering through. And we just Colin and I, who's our also our narrative director, and we just started kind of going back and forth on concept ideas, going into that, and like world tree concepts and like kind of human mythology over the ages, and what sort of cool cultural things could we bring in. Like all the islands are going to have kind of a nature reference, like a biome sort of general reference, and also some like general cultural focus, because that's sort of the concept that people go to the islands that they kind of connect with the most,
like their vibe.
And so they're reflective.
Like if this is your vibe, then that's where you're going to go. Mm-hmm. Like the seahorse and shark is such a great example, because the seahorse is kind of designed to be more in a musical way of like having that vibe, having that kind of frequency, and shark being perseverance. So clearly, that's the island that I would go to, because I'm extraordinarily hard-headed and will just keep hammering at something until we get something done. And as Cordelia likes to point out, I mean, you can have creativity all day long, and with no perseverance, you're not going to get anything done. So it's a great combination of traits to have together, and then she's mapped out, traits for each island. So we have them all. We have all these islands planned out for the future, and that's another huge differentiator. Is that this as a story game is going to have lots of different chapters. Once this island one is a seahorse and shark goes out, then we're going to start working on the next island, which is the raven and dog.
Mhm.
We already have lots of great plans for that.
Yeah, and it kind of builds on itself. Like we got some of that world design down, and then I mean, my favorite kind of story development is like let it grow on its own. We created the seeds of it, and it's sort of developing, and a lot of it started getting into like the concepts of duality, like of course the light and dark. You're a star spirit, the void is the darkness, that kind of stuff. But also like death and rebirth, like regrowth, the cyclical nature. You can't have any one thing without the other. The shark and seahorse, like Robin said, is a good example. You have to have creativity and perseverance. You take one or the other, and it kind of doesn't work out too well. So a lot of the islands have to do with like the two guardians that are on the island and how they relate, and those they're sort of topics. So and then yeah, and so it kind of grows. We are doing the islands episodic, and part of that is to see how things go and see how it kind of develops. Be able to, as the hardware increases, we want to be able to use like cool stuff in it. We want to use new mechanics we figure out and just make it. Each island is kind of going to be. It's going to all tie into the like be part of the same long story, but it's going to kind of be its own thing as well. And so there'll be kind of different experiences on each island despite having the
Like
same
new,
sort of
yeah, new
foundation.
some additional new powers because you're growing as a character, so you're going to
Mhm.
get new stuff to work with. The golems will be a bit different here and there as you grow and change over time.
I
The seahorse and shark golem has coral all over it. It's really cool. Reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean.
I knew that there was going to be more continuation to this, but it sounds like this is going to go a lot farther than I would have
No,
imagined. So,
huge.
and people should know too, the puzzles are not.
No, they're not easy.
These are not no brainers. I mean, we're still playing, but I'm embarrassed at what's got me struggled right
Yeah,
now,
what
which I
seems
won't talk about. But I'm actually embarrassed because I'm like I cannot. We do escape rooms. We do.
yeah, we love puzzle
I'm
games.
just at a point right now where I'm like, I don't know how to finish. I don't know how to complete this.
Yeah, so
and
if you're
I'm
somebody who
stuck.
often plays these puzzle games, you're like, this is too easy to
No, and this
progress
game
it.
has a 4.8.
Yeah, and for a reason,
4.8
it's,
in App Lab.
it's,
Yeah,
it's not
that's
easy.
awesome. So I'm hoping once there's some continuation to it, that's when hopefully the store pays. Maybe you can make that push to the official store
So
because it's visually it's stunning.
oh, and like I said, the travel it's unique. It's a story based puzzle game with combat. It's kind of its own unique thing. It's not copying anything that's already on the store.
Mm-mm.
So
That's why it's funny to hear how deep you've actually gone with it. It's like, wow, there's so much easier routes people can take to make a game.
yeah,
Then it
Yeah.
sounds like
Just
I'm going to take the hardest, most complicated. I'm going to have a deep story with deep feeling and deep emotions, and I'm going to visually give you, one of the best visual experiences you can have. The lighting's fantastic.
but
Like I
that's
said,
how
the
you get a
movement's good.
4.8. That's how you get a 4.8 for a game that's
It's
still in
also
early
my
access.
complaint with App Lab too. It's always my complaint. We always find games on App Lab that sight unseen and playing, you're like, this is no business in App Lab. It should be a store game, and
Yeah.
it's for as deep as this one's going.
Oh, definitely. I hope to
Yeah.
see this on the official store. But
Absolutely.
it sounds like the end vision's huge. So how long has this game been in development? And when do you think, it'll be able to be said, all right, maybe we put out
Final
more
chapter.
content. Yeah, maybe we
Yeah.
put out more content, but it's no longer early access.
So we maybe 2, 3 years ago, I think is when the very very early formations of the game, and then at that moment did we put together this really great doc, the Vision doc, which actually we just recently updated and realized how long we have been kind of thinking about this game. Then we put it aside because we realized this is way too much money and too much for the technology where we're at today. This is pre Quest. This is back in the Rift days, and there just weren't enough headsets out there to warrant this size of a game. Once the Quest 2 came out, you start seeing the headset adoption really take off. Now you're like, okay, we could go there. The only concern there is that it's so underpowered for the vision of where we want to go with this. Ultimately, in the dream fantasy world, the atmosphere does lighten and change a little bit now on the Quest, but Cordelia had some just knock your socks off stuff in there. You know, if you like go with the more path of the kill everything route, things got really dark and moody, and I want that back so bad. Maybe the PlayStation 5 can help us out there. We'll
Right.
see.
No, I mean, we know there's another headset coming sooner than later, so it's just a matter of how much power will be in it. But
And-
I love to see when developers are like, look, we've got a chokehold on this there's nothing more to squeeze out of it without
and
sacrificing game.
even then it's like, so you guys see the potential because you get to develop it, and then you have to strip it down, so you saw like the full potential, so your mind's exploding with that. But me, as a consumer who never saw that,
No.
I go into this and I go, holy shit, this is beautiful, this is a great environment. So it's funny, the different perspectives, because they've seen what it could be, fully maxed out on like a high rig PC if they were going that route. So their mind's like, oh man, maybe it's a little unsatisfactory, the current, standard of
you're
the
watching
graphic
your artwork and
get diminished to
everything
fit into it.
get
But me,
chopped for just to appease,
but me who didn't see that, I go into it and I'm like, shit, this is
no.
beautiful. This looks great. So it's funny, just know that the game looks great, all said and done.
Excellent.
So you've
It's good. It'll give us room to like knock your socks off for the next episode.
yeah, no, I can't wait. And so you've referenced a couple other people, like a programmer, Colin. How big is the team over at 3lb Games?
So Colin's actually a narrator director, so writer guy. Actually, you may know him if you look him up. He's done a gazillion Dungeons and Dragons, like RPG world stuff like that. And our lead developer, our technical director, is Chris Castaldi. So he's like the inventor of the movement systems. And we have an asset on the Unity Asset Store, which contains all of our movement systems. So this is something we put out many, many years ago as a way to help the development community get a head start, kickstart, and get out of teleport. Why are we doing teleport? I'm in VR. I can fly. I can do whatever I want.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right?
It's comfortable and it's easy, but you're restricted.
Snap turn and teleport. Just two of them I'm not a fan.
No, I always go to
worst.
smooth turning and smooth walking.
So thank you for that.
So you guys are smooth.
Oh, that's
okay.
really interesting.
That's been contentious for us because I get sick easily. I cannot smooth turn. It will make me absolutely completely nauseous very quickly. I love snap turn, but we did get a bunch of people requesting smooth turn, so we actually added that in, and so I'm glad to hear that it was a good thing to add in.
I think I'm just wrong in the head or something like that. Like, I think I've been choked out or something like that. I do jujitsu. I think I've been choked out too many times because snap turning makes me nauseous. Like, if I get nauseous, it's with like the nausea reducing features, like when games have by default where the screen will go black a little bit on the outside when you move.
I hate that.
That makes me nauseous. Snap turning makes me nauseous. Teleport movement kind of fucks with me, but like smooth makes my brain it doesn't. It does the opposite.
No, I feel more immersed. Like it's more natural of a real life movement.
Mm-hmm. And I'm less likely the moments that I'm like my brain can't really tell, like I'm not immersed. But that's when I get nauseous.
Teleport for sure.
So I think I'm just wrong in the head or something, because I commonly hear that smooth causes nausea. While I'm like, wow, with me it's the opposite. So that's
I have seen
what's
people,
interesting too is that people that are like new Quest users, you'll see them just turn around. It's just old school people that are like, oh right, I forgot we could do that.
I'm not tied down. Yeah, I've noticed like there's definitely kind of, you're either very much one way or very much the other way. It's I mean, that's one big thing with VR development is it's not just people's computers you've got to cater to. It's actually people's like physical, like things people cannot change.
Computers.
They're physical,
people's
they're
computers
internal
you
computers, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But people are very like for me, I can't do smooth turn. I get sick with a lot of movement systems. And we developed ours to help with that. But like, but it's very much a physical thing for people, I think. And so you have to allow the different options for people to be able to do and play the way they want to play, or they're going to get completely kind of disconnected from it and not be able to get involved in it. So it's an important thing with the development.
Yeah, immersion itself is a very personal thing. If you're one of those people like even for other types of technology, television shows, I'm not a fan of people walking in and talking while you're watching something. Even though I might be sitting on my laptop working, it's just that, you make that comment like, oh, who's that actor? And I'm like, snapped right out of it. Like, Okay, now I'm looking at it. Who's that actor? Great. So we're all about like the like hit every layer of immersion. Like does the does it look right? Does it feel right? Does it sound right? Does it all come together for the player so that they can forget who they actually are as a real person and be that star creature who's flying around? And then you go, yeah, of course it makes sense. I can transfer my energy into this golem and then control it. Absolutely.
Oh, which is
Well,
freaking awesome, by the way.
yeah, but it definitely seems like VR preferences are a lot like taste buds. Everybody's case by case, so it's good that you guys as
Well,
developers recognize it's important to have the settings for the user to pick what works for them. You know.
and we always mention too, it's real easy to sit on this end of the thing and watch somebody's work, and we do it when we review. We're always like, oh, it would be great if this game did this. And it's like, wow, how selfish. You just gave something a great score. It's a great game, it's a great experience, but you still say, like, so it's got to be tough because you do want to appease everybody,
hmm
in
And you
every
you
which way,
never
but
Oh,
you
and,
never
and
can.
also we have a backlog of those. Wouldn't it be great if
Yeah.
we,
yeah.
and we have to constantly keep each other in check for that
Yep.
because the game would never get finished, as you've seen many, many games take many, many years to get done.
Oh god, yeah.
hmm
So what all right, you have a musical background, obviously you still do. How do you go from like essentially being a rock star, right? To I'm gonna change and I want to develop video games. I mean, it doesn't seem like a normal path.
The
Like I don't know.
I'm actually finding that there's a lot of people in VR who've had a similar background path as me, where you put all your energy into music, but also I'm an engineer. So I've always kind of lived this dual life this whole time, where I'm an engineer and I work at like Motorola as an engineer, working on like, STX radios that the cops uses and microcontroller programming and all kinds of cool stuff like that. I even worked in like laser tomography. We were just talking about the other day, and that's super cool. But also, I would be at night, playing in the band. And eventually over time, go out there to California, recording another album. And then while I was out there, I started running an incubator corporation. So as a president of an incubator corporation with like 6 companies under me. And while I was simultaneously finishing up that last album and then trying to decide like what are we doing, are we going to get another record deal, and right at that moment it was the record industry was just falling apart in front of my eyes. Like it was just nobody has any money, nobody wants to support any creators, they don't want to take a chance on anybody. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? So I left the music industry and decided to go full force into technology. And over that time I learned just tons and tons of project management and how to do websites and manage all these different processes, which then, as soon as VR shows up on the landscape as a real viable, commercially viable option, I was all in. This is what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to be fully immersed. I used to have tons and tons of ViewMasters. I would, I even have a medical ViewMaster set that is like training people on like what's inside slices of the body, medical ViewMaster slides. How friggin' cool is that?
I
So this was such a great opportunity for me to take like my technology background, my music background, bring it all together, and boom, here we are. This is virtual reality.
it's an awesome path. And for people who don't know, a Viewmaster, because I mean, they sell them. Believe it or not, they sell them again. But it was basically a 3D. You could put in a round wheel with like I don't know what 20 pictures, 25 pictures. You could hold it up
Yeah, I
to
think it
the
was
light.
24. It was a even number because it's two. It has
Yeah,
two
the
slides
two,
for each eye.
and it
So
was
the
3D.
each eye slot was on the opposite sides, and it would.
Yep, cartoons were like 3D. It was amazing for its time. That was probably like old school VR for its time because you could, as a little kid, you could get lost looking into the. I'm a '70s kid. I was born in '70s, so I've had probably a handful of Viewmasters in
hmm
my young '70s life.
So, beside if we count ViewMaster as VR, then that's obviously the answer to this. But besides that, what was your first experience in VR for both of you?
I'm trying to remember. It's been a really long time. Like a real headset. There was the when the Vive first came out. Somehow I was in a Vive before it came out. It's not really a somehow. So I think it was like 2016, I think, something like that. That's 2015, 2016. Definitely had some of the early headset, not the DK1 really super early stuff, but Chris did though. Chris was
Mhm.
really on that, and I didn't want to get too involved too early on because I've been in that situation where I get too excited about a technology too early, and the technology adoption curve we're not there yet. So I was trying to be like, no, 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 don't lure me into this. But then he brings a revive, and I'm like, okay, still though, this is not commercially viable. My God, all the setup takes forever and everything, the satellites and the wire. People are not going to buy this, and they're not going to buy a $3,000 machine with a really high quality graphics card just to run this. I mean, us nerds will. But once that Rift came out, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is getting better. And, then we just started investing at that time and we started working our way through it. And once the Quest came out, we knew that this was it. This was going to take off.
Perfect. And what about yourself, Cordelia? What was that first experience in VR?
I think actually, funny enough, my very first one, because we're all remote, so I actually live pretty far from them, so I wasn't there when they tried the Vive early on. But I think actually my first one, before we did the VR stuff, we had made a couple small mobile games, and one of them was one called FP Shark, where you got to play as a little underwater drone, like a science drone. You would go around and scan fish. Yeah, we're always been into the flight and like non-terrain movement systems, but yeah, so they brought one, and we had gone somewhere. We were at a hotel somewhere, I think, for a conference or something. And Chris, we put the ocean level in there in the headset, or on for the mobile VR, like way back in the day, when they had, what was it, Google Cardboard or something along those
Google
lines.
Cardboard,
Yeah,
close
I think
enough.
that's I actually forgot about that. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That does count. So yeah,
That was, I think that
yeah.
was that, and flying through the
Mhm.
Shattered Tower level. We had done a couple recordings and
Right,
put those
right,
in
right,
VR.
right.
And that was like, maybe, I don't remember when that was, but it was definitely like,
That had to be 2015, the
oh, maybe it
2016
was somewhere
cuz
in that. Yeah, because Space
I mean
Dragon was
it was definitely right
2017. So
before those real headsets started coming
yeah,
out where
yeah.
we were all just sort of like getting stuff to and
And
yeah, and there was
Chris was getting us
we
on
were also
board.
doing a lot of augmented reality. I'm walking around Gen Con with like this had to be
Oh yeah, it was Gen
2015.
Con, wasn't it?
Like 2015, I think I'm walking around Gen Con and I'm trying to show off the Sharks for Arms characters on my phone. It's augmented reality, and the looks I'm getting from people because it was too far ahead. They could
Hmm.
what? What is this crazy magic? And I'm like, this is Gen Con. You're calling this
Yeah.
magic? Okay.
And yeah, so I think that was my first time like seeing it. My first time actually playing it, I think, was over at your place, and it was the Vive, and it was, oh, what was that one on Steam? Vanishing Realms was
Oh
my
yeah,
first like
that was
really getting
great. What a
into it,
great
which was this
game.
little. It was kind of a dungeon explorer one, and you got to like, you could just reach out and do like anything that I thought should be doable. Like you could just reach out, like you could grab the torch and like light curtains on fire and stuff, and I was just like,
Go behind the
yes.
tapestry, like peek
Yeah,
under. I don't think you could
stick your
peek under
head
the
through
cloth
stuff.
physics. Yeah, the cloth physics weren't there, but you could walk behind it if there
Yeah,
was a sneaky little hiding
so
spot.
that,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
and I was
very
just like,
cool.
yes, this is cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We should reach out to those guys.
Yeah.
I think they expanded it a little bit. They did have another
Cool.
release, but
So you kind of answered my next question a little bit with your answer. I was going to ask, did you guys start 3 pound games going right into VR? Were there other, non VR games before that? So how long has 3 pound games been around?
So we've been around a while because we started off in mobile games was our kind of first thing. We did some like kids games and that sort of thing just to kind of get our feet wet and kind of figure out what we're doing and that sort of kid words and stuff. But when I met Cordelia, like this was the okay, Chris and Cordelia coming together was such the key component of now we have a unity team to go build cool stuff with major stakeholders and people that really lockstep with design and development. We get talking about stuff and it is a million miles an hour and it is engineering focused. It is rah 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 rah. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Oh, okay. No, wait. This is the best solution that ever came out of anyone's mouth. We're all geniuses. Check, please. Like,
yeah.
like nobody gets their feelings hurt. We're all just like best product. We want the best product.
Yeah, our conversations are probably completely indecipherable when we get going, but hey, we get stuff out of it, and
They are like some people have definitely like tried to step into the rooms when we're really hard, really in the hardcore figuring something out mode, and they're just like walking away. They like pop into the Discord channel for a minute and just skip right out. Like,
it's the Simpsons, like the
too
Homer
much.
disappearing into the bush thing.
No, the energy you both
That would
have.
be a great Discord animation for you when you do that.
Fantastic energy that you guys both have with each other. I mean, how did you guys meet? I mean, how do you come about just blind luck stumbling upon somebody with a
Was it a Craigslist
Yeah,
job
great,
poster?
Right.
a good passion and
Yeah.
good energy? And
So it's like I put an ad in like the back of a music magazine,
It
and she's
was-
like, "What's
Yep.
this?" Now?
Yeah, no, it was funny, because it was 2013 that I joined you guys, and yeah, my then boyfriend, now husband, had was working at a place, and their one of the leadership at his company was a friend of Robin's, and I had just finished grad school. I went for school for character modeling, and so I had just finished that, and I was looking for stuff, and so she mentioned to him, they were chatting, and she was like, "Yeah, I know somebody who's trying to get like their game stuff rolling and could use an art person." So she connected me to Robin, and we just started making stuff. It was the original one was Sharks for Arms, which was
It's gonna come back. Don't you
idea.
worry.
Oh yeah, we're doing
it's
it.
gonna come back.
Yeah, but it was literally like there was a kid with sharks for arms, and so the first thing I'm doing is doing a drawing for concept art for this like kid with a boy or girl, because you could choose which character to play, and literally sharks on your arms, and so I was like, okay, this is cool, and so we just kind of
And
like
the story
ran
was
from there.
basically like, what did we had to like sort of back our way into the story a little bit, but like, so like one day, the kid has to go to the lab with mom and dad, for whatever reason that was. I don't remember what we had. But
We had
then
a
is
little
of
cartoon about it, comic.
course, like, screwing around as kids do, like, somebody yells, "Watch out!" He falls back, and the arms go into the machine, and then they get
It's
zapped,
like some
and
portal machine or something like that, and they stick their so it's very funny, but
and then he had to be airlifted to be taken to this place where this guy's doing experimental treatments for regenerative abilities of the shark. So they stick sharks on his.
we had a bunch of fun creatures. Like I was just making a lot of creatures because we'd have all these like chimeric sort of creatures part of this island, and it was sort of the almost like an escape from like the island of Dr. Moreau, kind of like weird experiments going on sort of thing, but in a little bit of a kid direction. But I mean, there was definitely some dark stuff to it. We've always had like kind of a dark background to a lot of our stories.
Yeah, like I think it's that I think there's a little bit of the 1-2 punch of the you think we're gonna put out something cute, but it ain't so cute.
I want to see an animation of this.
No, I want to see this on the Quest, at least on App Lab. I think VR is the best for this kind of silly stuff. I think that's where
It totally is.
Oh, I was
That's actually what happened to that game is we put out a little cinematic intro of it where at the end of it, so you wake up and you're in the hospital bed and there's an ape with like a
The
octopus
octopus. Yeah.
so like a little tentacle comes up on the bed.
And he yells at you.
Right, and he roars at you, and then and then the scene goes to you first person, and then you're like with your arms, and sure, you look at your arms and the sharks, but then because at the time we were doing this as like a side scroller kind of 2.5D or
2.5D
something like that.
platformer kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. And that was a disconnect between the what people saw this game was going to be and then what it actually was. So that didn't go as well as we would have liked, and we actually just put the whole thing on ice. So it was a game that should have always been for VR. We should have just done that right away. But we're getting back to it.
It deserves to be. Would the sharks eat? Would the hands have to eat like the shark? I'm just wondering, like, if you have to go around and start chomping on things and.
Yeah, we definitely had the chomping, and we had a mecha shark, an apetopus, and
you could also like shoot the sharks off because you get the regenerative property. You shoot the shark off and another one grows.
Every single person who plays this game, the first thing they would do is this would be them.
Yeah, we're trying to eat.
Yeah, the puppets. You can do that with the space dragons too, because we have the little space dragons that are the dragons for arms. Basically, is kind of what that ended up as.
I want to play
just puppet them and make them talk.
So I love the energy that you two have. I think that there's so many ideas that can come out. Yeah. Is there any other games that you guys are any other VR games, I should say, for the Quest you guys are working on besides Vault of Stars? Is
Oh
that getting
yeah.
100% of your
Oh
attention?
yeah. Oh yeah.
There's always 100
Do
ideas.
we want to even socialize the name?
Ooh,
So
I don't
there's a
know.
game. So because we have a lot of really crazy ideas, and sometimes you get into these things, and you you build out a level of it, and then you realize, okay, where are we going to go with this? And it's not always good to kind of like throw out such a small level because people can beat you up over that. Like, well, there's not enough content here, and they're right, absolutely. And you don't really know if you want to invest that much time into building it out. So we've ended up like kind of prototyping out a lot of different ideas, and over time, the other thing that's kind of parallel to that is the movement system and our interest in trying to like solve some of the habituating people into VR and introducing more people into different movements, different styles, the mechanics, the movement, everything. What's my immersion level? So you wrap all those things up together. And also, I love Warrior Wares to death. It's the best game possibly ever. I don't know if you've ever played that. It was the one, the Nintendo Wii version. The Wii was it the Wii, yeah, the original Wii, where you did micro games and you did know what was going on. It was so great for people that didn't even play video games because it would be like the telephone, and it would be a little picture that would come down, and it would be a telephone, and obviously you have to answer the telephone, right? But it may not be actually a telephone in the game. It might be something that you just need to pick up and turn over. So the whole thing was you put your remote down, face down, and whatever it is that the game actually is, that is the mechanic that you do, which is pick it up and answer it. So there's all kinds of stuff like that in that game, and it was really appealing because A, it was a micro game, so really fast paced. B, I watched how people who didn't play video games and didn't understand controllers would just get it because they were simple mechanics. So we've kind of wrapped up all of these things into a new multiplayer game that we're working on right now, like slowly over time to kind of pull in all these different factors. And this is like we're calling it Rocket. I don't know if that name will stick, but the idea is you got to figure it out quick and go.
Yeah, and so it's and the fun stuff for us is that basically like I mean I could just go, I mean there's the Sharks Farms, there was FP Shark, FP Dinosaur, there's Space Dragon, there's the Dragon Game, whatever there's Shadow Tower, there's Cybercat, there's Vault, there's like we
Griffin
just have
delivery.
tons of things that are kind of always going on in the background. Sometimes we'll put some time into them, but the fun thing with this is that it's also our outlet to be able to, if you have one of those crazy ideas that you want to just try out, build a mini level, and we're going to just all put in like mini levels into the game. Everybody gets to kind of go with their crazy idea. We all have tons of them. We'll build them as levels. They're going to both help people get used to VR and also be an outlet for us. And if some of the levels really like stick, that's something we can kind of pursue later, but also just it's fun. It's fun to just make stuff and just have stuff that people can goof around and make it so people can goof around with their friends and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, that's kind of one of our big things that'll tie in
It's our
all of
pure
the different
chaos game.
ideas because yeah, we always have stuff going on that all of us are pet projects as kind of things.
No, it's good to again the energy because there's a handful of people who might make something and be like, all right, I'm one and done. See you later. I mean, we've already kind of touched that. And I guess like wow, where are you gonna even find the time with everything you've got going on with the one aspect, but to know that there's even more things. But the Sharks with Arms, I'm sold on that.
Yeah, we
I'm
love this
sold.
game,
It
Loco
just sounds
Dojo.
fun. Like we'd
Yeah,
be crying, laughing.
like I don't know if you guys have ever played Loco Dojo Unleashed. It's a mini game based game, but they have this one where
Hmm.
you're one mini game where you have giant lobster hands and you have to try to catch fish that are flying.
Hmm.
And we
Oh
probably
yeah.
cried laughing, tears in our eyes, the whole round of the game. Like we didn't even do anything the first time we played it, just sitting there pissing ourselves laughing at lobster hands. There's something about giant, unrealistic sea hands in VR that just is hysterical.
It's very appealing. It's very
Hmm.
appealing to do mashups and things because we're in virtual reality, so why wouldn't I do something I can't do in real life?
Right?
So
That's a good concept.
have
That
crazy robot arms that can do things. Like in Captive Sun, another project that will make its way back into Grocket. We had the idea that you're sticking your arms in the machine for upgrades, and then they would come back out as different devices. So that'll probably
No,
That'll come around, the little
that'll come around.
things to play with, all the stuff, just toys.
that's the correct mentality to have. Like, I don't like to criticize anybody or say what anybody's doing is wrong or anything like that. Hey, we all walk our own paths, so I don't mean it like that, all judgy. But I see a lot of like the VR real estate stuff like that, which, maybe I'll be laughing poor and broke while everybody else is rich and everything like that. But I look at VR and it's like, let's do everything that we can't do in real life, just like you're saying. It's limitless potential, and all of the limitless potential of VR to decide to be a landlord, it's like, that's not my app for me. So I like to think, I like to see games that go the opposite direction. What can't we do in real life? I can go buy a house and rent it out to somebody in real life. I don't need to go do that in VR. I want to go fly around. I want to have lobster hands. I want to have shark hands. I want to get silly. I want to have fun. So I love that that's the mentality you two have.
I want to escape.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to go do accounting and manage my house books, make sure everything's taken care of, and this guy's paying me rent and my crib. What? That's not what VR is for. VR is for the things I can't do in real life, like be a
Well,
lot.
for some people, that would be own property too. By the way,
I know, I get
right?
that.
I
get that.
I actually think that some people can't do that in real life, so
Yep.
they might think that that's interesting. There's a little bit of that. Like Job Simulator is a great example of it is directly the parallel of when you watch little kids who would not actually want to sweep and mop for you in the real world, but boy, you give them the little toy version, they're all over it
Oh yeah.
because it's pretend,
Hey,
it's all gold.
I won't lie, like Cities VR is coming out. I love the idea of doing that in a simulation with not real people. But like knowing that I
Ooh,
need to rent
yeah.
it out to somebody's gonna go rent out my VR mansion.
VR squatting.
If it was like a non-existent NPC, I'd be all over that game,
Mhm.
I get you.
But I get what
Yeah,
you're saying.
or alien creatures have actually come down from Mars for real, and they need places to stay.
Yeah,
It's a unique set of interesting
paying-
problems that come up because of the tentacles.
They're paying triple rent too, is the rumor. So
I don't like to think that if I sleep now, then in 5 years I won't be able to own a metaverse house. I'm gonna be renting it out from some dude. It sounds a little bit too much like real
Well,
life.
like,
No.
it's infinite.
yeah.
Like everybody could make anything they want. So anyone that puts false limits on it is just kind of
Yeah, again,
hurting it for everybody.
It's just part of the the movement of VR.
Yeah, if somebody does like the entire United States mapped as a metaverse, which they're doing, and then they sell all the real estate, which they will, then somebody else will say, "I've got USA too."
Yep, it's
Right.
So what?
I've got one on the moon.
Yeah, even better, right? Let's not even be here at all. That would be fantastic.
No, that's funny. Well, at least you both are in the creative aspect, not, and again, not taking a path that could have, sure, you could have done virtual real estate and put that out there, right?
Or done a safe, rhythm game or something like
Yeah,
that. But
we're
no,
not
you're
knocking
going,
rhythm games.
no. But
there's
it's a
plethora
safe,
of 'em.
proven,
Yeah.
financial route. Instead, you're going, all right, this game's going to take us a while. It has a long creative vision.
It's deep,
It's deep.
very trippy,
Let's do it. And
very trippy.
me and Stratus were talking about this before the podcast. It's like when you do things for the money, like, oh, I think that this is going to make us $10 million. We're going to be millionaires. You're probably not going to go anywhere with it, and you're going to hate every day of your life.
Product is garbage.
If you do it because it's an idea you love and you want to do it and you wake up every day excited for it, you're going to make a good product, and then the money's going to come anyway. But it's not about the money. And I get that feel with you guys. It's like you guys bounce back and forth even in this interview, and you're getting excited. Ideas are coming.
Oh yeah,
Remember
somebody
this.
if just based on a lot of times we'll review the game first and then talk to people who make it. So this is almost like a reverse order, but just based on the excitement level, it's like to hear someone in the development company that excited about their product. That alone says, I need to kind of go out and get this. What am I missing out on? Because sometimes it can be very business but the smaller the studio size, also the better the product.
Yeah,
Is what we seem to have run across as well. There's no corporate stuffiness.
There's less bureaucracy. Like if somebody wants to do something crazy, the answer is okay, prove it. Like just do it. Have at it.
You said you can do it. Now let's see it.
Yeah, no, that sounds
No,
like
it's a
go
great. It's just yeah. So I think there are people that are going to hear this and just be like, I might be missing out on something.
Mm-hmm. And if you listen to this podcast and you haven't played the game yet, and you go and you play it, you'll see their energy in the game, in the final product. The energy you two have, it carries over.
It's a good product.
So
You should see how that goes in a game. Cordelia, like I'll put something in, then Cordelia will put some like, oh, I think I need to make this particle effect more magnificent. And I'll be like, oh my God, my sound effect doesn't fit anymore. Now I have to amp it up more. You know, it's like,
that's hilarious. So this is a question I always love to ask developers, and I get a wide range of answers, usually going towards no, I don't touch a headset in my free time. But just out of curiosity, are there any other VR games besides your own that you play, you love, or is it absolutely that you get done a game of development or a day of development, and you're like, no way am I putting one of those
I'm
on
not
my
putting
head?
work on my head.
Yeah. What's it like for you too?
well, my biggest problem is I like to work on the stuff at night because I'm doing audio and it just, plus people aren't interrupting so much with the business side of things. So that restricts my time for playing. And what we started to do was 3 Pound plays other people's games on Tuesday nights on Twitch. So last a couple weeks back we did Blast On, which was super fun. And then this past week we did Demio or Demio. We're not actually sure how to pronounce it yet. I don't know if you guys do.
Yep.
So I set that one out because Colin, being the RPG guy, we wanted to go. So Colin, Cordelia, Chris, and Kyle played that, and that was really fun to watch.
Just realized we're all C sounds.
It's a wicked fun
Yep.
game.
Yeah.
And it's Demio too. We
Demio,
we
yeah.
went back and forth on
Demio.
it. We've reviewed it twice on this podcast.
I wanted to call it Damio.
Yep.
I think or some.
I think you were correct and I was wrong. Go figure in the end. But then we've interviewed the community manager and everything, and she's ironed it out. But it's like 50-50 online. If you go and you see people talk about it, nobody knows. Everybody's like, oh, I thought it was this.
I think
It's
that's
like
great
Wacom
that
versus
people are talking about it, right?
Wacom.
Yeah. But I love that attitude of let's go support other development teams. I never like to see things like rivalries or like unsupportive behavior.
The community's not big enough right now
No.
for people to hate each
Yeah.
other.
No.
So
Oh, I mean, it's just silly anyway.
Yep.
Are we all here to make cool immersive experiences, and let's help each other out, right? I mean,
yeah,
and that's primarily
Yeah.
what, like, if I put on somebody else's game or experience, it's primarily because I met them in the side quest community, or they're someone I know from Launchpad or the Oculus Star community or one of those things, and I'm like, like I played Smash Drones because I met the guy in Oculus Star, like great game, so there's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, I did pick up Red Matter not that long ago, and because it's not really faster paced, it's causing me angst because it's like, but I am trying to get through it. It's just like nibbling away little chunks at a time.
oh, that's funny. And Resolution's a great game company that kind of seems to have that same mentality of I see them support other game companies, kind of put share their stuff.
A lot of the developers.
But holy hell is blasting a workout though.
Yep.
My goodness, you're gonna sweat.
Oh yeah,
Get some squats.
yeah. We had a real good time with that.
Yeah, we're usually shuffling.
Yeah. Also, just surprised too because we went in totally cold on that game.
Ooh.
We're new to Twitch too, so we don't know like the rules and you should probably be prepared more for the Twitch stream. We're just like, hey, let's just go Twitch stream this,
Wing
yay!
it.
Yeah,
It's worked out.
set your guardian
But
with
I'm
that
like
game.
I'm like in the menu. I'm in the menu and I'm looking at the stuff and trying to figure out what we're doing. And I just kind of looked over to the right and I'm like, what's that door? And then I went, oh, what do you know? There's this whole cool thing back there, and we ended up back there for like 45 minutes.
We had a
goofing around.
couple of their top players apparently came and
Oh
what was
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, a couple people came and joined us. We got to watch them play. Like we ran a little like impromptu tournament. One of them joined us, and then another guy showed up, and they ended up fighting each other, and we got to watch it. Oh my god, he was like juggling
Oh my
weapons and
God.
stuff. I was amazed.
It was like when you watch the
incredible.
bullet hell kings and queens like really understand negative space, and they just stand there and they're like,
Oh yeah, no, it's a workout and a half.
so smooth, and you're just like, oh, and yeah, right. And like when I actually ended up playing that one of those guys in our tournament, and he's like, okay, how about
Yeah,
I'm
he walked you through
just
it.
gonna take one of my hands off, and he puts one hand down and he keeps me one handed.
Yeah, they were nice
Ruthless.
though. They were nice guys.
They were way cool, way cool.
That's no,
yeah,
they-
it was super, and also we learned a lot about how to play by interacting with them and watching them play. So it was super incredible. Like I almost felt like at one moment, and I kind of joked with them about it. I was like, what if this was actually the onboarding experience? that
Oh, right.
we get into the tournament space, we're playing a little bit, and it sees that we're struggling, so it brings in these pro guys to come and be like super supportive and helpful. I'm like, wow, that'd be such cool AI right
Yeah.
there.
You're a high enough level.
Way
A message comes up. A noob needs your help.
it can
Join.
Right,
That'd be
right,
cool. Yeah,
right.
not
That
even
would be
AI, just
super cool.
actual
We could
people.
do that
Yeah.
with Rocket, yeah.
that'd be freaking
Freaking
awesome.
awesome. Yeah. Get help messages. Oh man.
Or it knowing that you need the
Yeah,
assistance.
because
So yeah,
the good players are always helpful because they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, I mastered the game. Now I want to get other people playing. Cool, let's go. Enjoy it like I do. See it from my perspective.
Yeah, we're normally shuffling like 4 or 5 different games that we're preparing to review going in the future. Blaston's one, but that's like a good end the day with because your headset's gonna be pretty sweaty. So besides like
You might want to get in shape first before planning to play that.
yeah,
Do
or
some
or
get
it
some
might
push-ups or
cardio.
something.
it might get you in shape, but just might not be able to play a bunch of rounds at once. A couple rounds to start the day, maybe do some other walks around the block and things like that. But besides VR game development, besides playing games, supporting other game developers, that kind of stuff, what are some of your guys, both of your hobbies in real life outside of VR?
If there's time.
Besides
Oh,
music,
let me
besides
pass that one
music
over to
too.
Cordelia because she didn't get to her game last because it's quite extensive. Woo!
All right, yeah, I want to
Well,
hear that.
I mean, aside from playing with my cat and the normal stuff, I do a lot of PC gaming for as well because, like, I mean, like you said, it's tough to be in the headset all day. I am one of those kind of VR sickness prone people. I do definitely play other VR games. I really liked what was that one called?
Township Tale.
Township Tale.
Township Tale is a cool
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Townsman VR, they recently did a massive update that was awesome. Like the ones we play on Tuesdays, that kind of stuff. But I also play a lot of PC stuff, a lot of RPGs. Obviously, the big ones like Elder Scrolls, Witcher, love those ones and stuff like that. Been playing some Valheim lately with some friends, and I've been enjoying that. I like the survival aspects and anything with fantasy mythology, that kind of stuff. So a lot of it's yeah, a lot of what my cooldown time tends to be like on the PC game side of things.
No, that's awesome. I have a wish list that will never happen because I just know it won't. But I hope one day I wake up, maybe at Oculus Connect or something like that. They drop a news that like Morrowind is coming to the Oculus Quest. I would lose my mind. I got to be realistic.
Well,
Oblivion probably couldn't run on the Quest. Not that I imagine it couldn't. If it could, then let's shoot for
I don't
that.
know.
But
Yeah, they did I mean they got Skyrim and they got Fallout onto VR. Um I don't know. I'm curious what they're going to do with the next one cuz like Fallout 76 for all the uh ragging on it people gave it early on, which to be fair some of it was fair, but they developed that and they had some great multiplayer stuff in that, and I'm really curious what they're going to do with the next one on that. Not to get into
yeah,
other people's games too much, but like I'm really curious about that, and I would love to see them do some more like VR tie-in stuff with that too. Yeah,
yeah, if they could port some of their mid 2000 titles, which I think is reasonable to run on a Quest, I try to line up. All right, when did Grand Theft Auto San Andreas come out? All right, when did Resident Evil 4 come out? All right, that's the era of games we can do. Okay, I'd love to see that 2004 2005 era
yeah.
games, those RPGs ported over to VR. So Robin and Cordelia, I know you mentioned hanging out with the cat and stuff. What are the hobbies outside of gaming?
Is there time
Ooh,
for hobbies
I know
outside of gaming?
there hasn't been a lot of time. I do a lot of work. I mean, kind of getting houses together. We've been doing a lot of moving and stuff, so there hasn't been. I mean, stuff that I'm hoping to do once we get into our next places. I did in my undergrad I did metalworking and stuff like that, and I would love to get into armor crafting again. I did scale mail for I've done some scale mail work. I've done metal casting, and so really like craft kind of like kind of armor crafting sort of stuff has always been something I wanted to get more into. I'm planning to set up kind of a forge and foundry metal shop. Really want to get a nice 3D printer. I've been holding back on that. Like it's been tough because there's so many cool 3D printers out there.
Oh, and if you wait
But I
6
want to
months,
get
there'll be a new one
yeah,
out
and
too.
that's the
That's not a
problem.
problem.
They're
Don't
always
really have a
cool.
lot of space right now, but I'm waiting, and I'm gonna get like really looking forward to when I finally get that 3D printer. So that'll kind of be my focus there, I think.
So I think the only thing I really add to that really is because I'm kind of right there in the same mental wheelhouse as Cordelia with those kinds of crafts kind of stuff. I also play a lot of board games because that is a great way for me to get away from the computer and attempt to socialize with actual humans in real life. It's so tough because it's not really my thing. Um, so right now, I actually just played some Puerto Rico last night. It's one of my favorite games. I hadn't played it in probably 2 years. Getting a couple of new players up to speed on that, which is a lot harder than it looks.
No, board games are like that. The first time you play it, it's so complicated. Two play sessions in, maybe even one, you'll have it fully down. But to teach somebody,
Yeah,
it's tough.
yeah, because you're trying to just feel like, no, it's just like real life, sort of, like Spice Road, like that's such a simple game. You're just a spice trader, but there's a few of these rules around that kind of mess with your head, and the randomization of things of you picking things up are not real life, but they are kind of real life. Or Power Grid has a real good parallel to running a business. I mean, because it is literally what you're doing, and you kind of get the ramp. Like, I'm really interested in that ramp of when you have to go buy the different power stations that are available to you at the time. So you got to be smart about when it is you choose to invest in the next piece of property to then power the houses, so that you can then make the money from this stuff. And if you go too fast and you try to ramp like this, you get choked off. And you got to get that pivot line just right. And it's really good. It's like one of those things, like, everybody should learn this game before starting a business, because you start to realize that sometimes you should just save your money for the next time some opportunities come up, because then you'll have the money for the right opportunity to get to the next jump.
No, that's awesome.
You should be bringing some of these games to VR.
I was gonna say that's
Right.
something me and Stratus say almost.
Bring
Yeah,
the
I
board
would
games
every
to
really,
VR.
really love to do that.
We
Mhm,
love
mhm.
board games in real life, and we love board games, especially in VR, because I found that they're easier to learn with because you can play against the
You
AI.
can make mistakes easier.
You can't do things that are against the rules. If you go to play something the wrong way, it'll like stop you. There's no setup. There's no losing pieces. It's easy to reference rules. It's like all the real life limitations of board, getting everybody in the same house together. I think VR is made for board games. There's only a couple
Mhm.
on the Quest.
Why isn't Scrabble in
yeah,
VR?
even the classics. They
It's
don't even
weird.
have like Monopoly or Life or anything like that. Not even the the more advanced ones. It's mind boggling to me. So I'd love to see if 3 pound games to get some licensing there.
And all that spare time you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
doing
'cause, it's
17 different
yeah.
projects at once, just throw a couple board games
Yeah,
in
'cause
there,
Yeah,
you
right?
guys,
I
no
would. I'd
time.
really love. There's definitely a couple. I mean, like, I think the Century Spice would be a particularly good one. I thought we might do a Grocket level that's sort of
Oh yeah, we
reflective,
did.
a trading game, because with trading
Yeah.
games are of course common. And I'd love to contact them and, like, build it right, where there's all these like carts, and there's some crazy character that's like, oh, I'm not going to
Yeah.
take two of those for this. Getting all grumpy.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely talked about doing some tabletop stuff in Grocket as well for people that didn't want to have to worry about doing a lot of movement. So that's definitely possible there.
I-
Yeah, I mean, in my dream fantasy world too, you could play it on the tabletop, but then you could get small and go walk around and actually do the stuff by hand,
Yeah,
you know,
do it in
which we
person.
could do. That's easy. I mean,
Oh man,
it's just
You play chess and you've got to actually like fight the battles.
classic battle chess.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
VR is made for board games. It's like, because you play a board game
Yeah.
and you start to, you're in a competitive round. You start to, I don't know, maybe it's just me. My imagination starts to go crazy. I almost visually get in there. If you could have the visual representation there too, oh my god! I'll say this to any developer: you put out a board
Right,
game,
right.
sold. I'm spending my money first day.
Now, VR to me has always been like when you're a little kid and you're watching cartoons, and I think every kid in their life has always wanted to go into the TV and just be part of that world. That was like, it just, things can't get better than that. So
Yep.
on a gaming or sense, it's like VR is made for that complete. VR is made for developers like this, though, that have so much to bring to the table.
Yeah, your mind's not going to just, this makes money, so we have to do this. These are ideas we love that we want to do.
No, and from the bulk of everything I've heard, there's nothing I've heard I wouldn't be like, oh shit, I wouldn't play that. It's
No.
like, yeah, it's like I want the shark with them. But I love the name Grocket. I'm hoping that sticks now, because it's kind of like the more I hear it, I'm like, hey, definitely going to keep my ear for that.
Nice.
It's that's awesome to hear, because it's tough when you come up with those internal names like that and then you banter them around. And the test is usually, does everybody on the team use that, or do they mess it up when they recall it back? And
And
so
how
far
weird does
that
it feel
one,
to say to people too? Like
right,
when you actually
right.
try and say it to somebody who doesn't know the internal
Yes, we're working
stuff.
on Grocket. They don't look at you
Yeah.
like you're
Grocket.
crazy. You're probably in the nerd crowd because pretty safe there. And people that aren't in the nerd crowd, I'd like Grocket rhymes with like kind of ish bop it. It has
A
that
rocket.
same, fast frenzy vibe about it. Even if you didn't know what to grok is, you would still get the idea that it's something quick and fun.
No, I think it's genius. And
Yes.
it's catchy. Like it would be sometimes you hear a name and you're like, would I click on that name if it had a graphic above it? And that's when I'd be like, what is that?
Yeah,
I
no,
must click on that.
I'm real excited when more content, like when Vault of Stars is officially, which with the ideas you guys are throwing out today, who knows, but when that's not early release or early access anymore, and hopefully it's going on to the official store, we'd love to have you back. And when Grok gets ready to make its push onto either App Lab or the official store, we'd love to have you back. 3 Pounds Games has definitely been added to the list of development companies. I see that name on a game, I'm getting real excited.
Yeah, and I would also encourage people just when when you go to the game description, read it. Read the lengthy. I mean, whoever wrote that whole bit did a fantastic job. Because one of the tough things that we struggle sometimes is you need to articulate the game into words so people can visually interpret it. And it's like I would almost want people to read that verbatim
Mm-hmm.
just to understand the depth that they're getting into. It's just over the top good.
Yeah. So, we're just passing an hour. That's the moment we start to kind of,
Feel bad
pickle
for
up and, it's
feel
Sunday.
bad for people on a Sunday trying to
Yeah.
enjoy their day.
So before we wrap it up, Stratus, is there anything else that you wanted to ask that we didn't go over?
No, not at all. I think the energy is some next level stuff that I haven't seen from pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, and I agree. 3 Pound Games is going to be one you're going to want to watch and keep your eye out for. So
Yeah. So, and for you guys, Robin, Cordelia, is there anything that you wanted to plug that we didn't get an opportunity to? Any Discord communities, Reddit communities, anything like that?
We do have a Discord server, and also we are Twitch streaming, so we can give you those links because saying them won't do much for people. We also are reissuing Space Dragon for the Quest. We'll probably, month or so out, that sort of thing. At first, it's just going to be basically a reissue that fits on the Quest, lower particle effects and some sort of things like that. But then we do have a plan for that as well to expand that out if people like it. And that's just one of those, we're going to sneak that out, and
see what happens.
you can fly around and with dragons for your hands and talk.
Blow up planets. Woo.
No, I can't wait. When
We
that
got some great Twitch. We got some great Twitch clips up from when we did a playthrough on Twitch with us, just talking about kind of the development topics and that sort of thing. There's some really funny clips up there. You should definitely check those out.
Yeah, so I'll put those links right in the show notes of this episode, their Discord server, their Twitch link, and definitely when that game drops, let us know. We'll review it on the podcast, and hopefully we can spread some word and get you back on.
Cool. Sounds
Sweet.
awesome. Thank you guys so much. This was super fun.
No,
Awesome.
thank you both.
Great guests, and to our listeners, stay tuned.
Definitely want to talk again.
Yeah, keep an eye out for 3 Pound Games, and definitely go check out Vault of Stars. It's early access, but
a
it's
5-star review.
Yeah, it's a unique and fun experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and check us out Wednesday when we're reviewing Vermilion VR. Fun new VR painting game.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We're having a lot of fun with that. I actually am not painting like a toddler in this one. They've taught me well.
I painted my first actual photo.
Yeah,
painting.
Usually my painting ability, especially with like oil painting, it's imagine handing a 4-year-old some oil painting in a canvas, and that's what I come out with. But this one I actually made some landscapes. It was nice.
Yeah, we'll get deeper into that.
If you put a story behind it, it's modern art, and you're all set.
Come on, look at that. Thinking ahead. So thank you for joining us, Robin and Cordelia, and stay tuned for more.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.